The yearning for abroad wasn't a quiet thought for Tony, it was a roaring current that swept through every corner of his young mind. It began subtly, in the late 90s, when the stories of cousins and neighbors who had made it overseas started filtering back to their bustling Lagos neighborhood. Tales of gleaming cars, houses built from afar, and crisp foreign currency sent home painted a picture of paradise beyond the Nigerian shores. For Tond, barely out of secondary school, these stories weren't just anecdotes, they were a blueprint, the only blueprint, for a successful life. "See that boy, AY," his uncle Kevin would often say, pointing to a photo of a smiling, well-dressed man. "He left with nothing, now he lives in Canada. That's where the future is, Tond. Not struggling here." These words, repeated by many, planted a seed in Tond's impressionable mind. Why bother with the slow, uncertain climb in Nigeria when instant prosperity awaited across the ocean? This mindset quickly became a filter through which he viewed everything. Learning a trade. What for? I just learn a new skill when I get there, the proper way. University education. Waste of time and money. I get a better degree when I'm abroad, sponsored by a scholarship. Starting a small business, even just selling phone accessories like his friends. Too much hassle. The real money is outside. His entire life paused, put on hold by the powerful current of his overseas quest. His first attempt, in his early 20s, was for a student visa to the UK. He spent a significant portion of his family's meager savings on an agent who promised miracles. Tond spent weeks poring over brochures of red double-decker buses and Buckingham Palace, picturing his new life. He attended the visa interview, nervous but confident, convinced his destiny was calling. The rejection letter arrived 2 weeks later, cut and final, insufficient ties to home country. He was devastated, but only momentarily. Just a setback, he told his worried mother, the agent didn't do it right. "I'll find another way." A few years crawled by, marked by odd jobs he never committed to, just enough to eat and save for the next opportunity. His friends started apprenticeships, some went to polytechnic, others opened small shops. Tond watched them, detached, his mind always on the distant horizon. "They don't understand," he'd tell himself. "They are settling. I'm aiming higher." His next big chance came through a distant relative who claimed to have a connection for a job visa to Saudi Arabia. This time, the cost was even higher, demanding a loan from a sympathetic aunt. Tond spent months preparing, practicing greetings in broken Arabic. Convincing himself he was ready for the desert. This quest became an obsession. He stopped attending family gatherings, uninterested in local gossip or problems. He became irritable when asked about his plans, seeing any doubt as a personal attack on his singular vision. "Just wait," he'd snap. "You'll all see. My time is coming." The visa, after several false starts and promises, never materialized. The relative vanished with the money. Defeat tasted bitter, but it didn't quench the thirst. Instead, it hardened him. The outside world became less a dream and more an almost pathological fixation. He tried a lottery visa, then a sham marriage proposal to a woman in Germany, both ending in failure and further debt. Each failure wasn't a lesson in self-reliance, but a reinforcement of his belief that the method was wrong, not the goal. He became a shadow of his former self, a man whose presence was only partial, whose gaze was always fixed on a land he couldn't reach. He was perpetually waiting, perpetually planning for a departure that never came, always on the cusp of a future that remained tantalizingly out of reach. He saw the world around him as temporary, a waiting room for his real life to begin. His hair thinned, then grayed. The lines on his face deepened, etched not by wisdom, but by years of unfulfilled longing. His friends, the ones who had settled, now owned houses, their children in university. His own mother, frail and elderly, still looked at him with a mix of love and unspoken sorrow. He was now in his late 50s. One quiet evening, sitting alone in the small, rented room he'd occupied for decades, the silence was deafening. He looked at his calloused, empty hands that had never truly built anything of lasting value. The posters of foreign cities, faded and peeling on his wall, seemed to mock him. It was then, in that profound stillness, that the crushing realization hit him with the force of a physical blow. The endless horizon he had chased for so long wasn't a destination, it was a mirage that had consumed his entire life. The real life he had waited for, the one he believed could only begin abroad, had been right here, all along, waiting for him to live it. He had paused, not just his exploits, but his very existence, convinced that happiness lay only beyond borders. He had been so utterly, tragically unwise. What steps, if any, could Tony take to find purpose and meaning in the life he has, or is it too late for him to build something new from the ruins of his unfulfilled dreams?
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe for more true tales and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out. We'll see you next time here on Stories Platter.